Hello YouTube, I want to tell you about my near-death experience, or my death experience. I actually died, you can call me crazy, call me delusional, I don't really give two fucks. I killed myself, I don't regret it. My good is not your good is not my good. That being said, I think it is an experience that I have a need to share. Maybe it's just for my own good, and in that case, that's good enough for me. I need to share this story, so I'm going to share it. So I was in a relationship for a year with one person, and when that relationship failed, I acted out in very ignorant ways to try to grasping for control, grasping to get control back, and at one point after an episode,
I was begging him, don't leave, don't make me face this world alone, just don't, man, don't. And he's like, this is really sad, I'm sorry, but you gotta go home. Here's, I tried to give you a ride.
I apologized and I went inside. Before I even got to my room, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I went straight for the bottle of pills.
The most non-threatening of pills you can imagine was Tylenol. 8 is enough to kill you.
I took 22 and took it a while, so. Life flashes before every sense of your being. You just suddenly feel very alive when you know you're gonna die. And there's a very good chance that you're not getting out of this. They're not gonna save you in time. This is it. This is the end. This is everything is gone. That fear of not knowing, you might as well let go of it now, because fuck it. You're about to experience whatever it is, whether you're afraid of it or not, and you kind of, this all runs through your head in one moment, and you can't, what your senses experience is just suddenly the sense of being alive. You were dead before, but now you're alive. Truly alive. You've never been this alive since birth. And exhilaration, man. It's so exhilarating. Then the realization that you're about to lose it all is just so overwhelming, but you give it all up anyway, just because you would have never experienced this if you hadn't. And there's no regrets. I have no regret in my mind, no regret whatsoever that I did this. I would do it again if I thought that I could experience the same thing twice. I think the magic of it would be gone, though, because now I know that dying, we are not dead, and living, we are not alive. That was a magical moment that I can't get back. I'm glad I experienced it, glad I can share it with people, my experience of it, and as the realization that this is all about to end, finally it was getting to the point of intensity. I had to retreat from that too. Like, I suddenly just, like, I became like a child, and my landlord came into the room. He knocked once, and I said something childish in a childish voice. Like, I reverted to being a child, straight up. I was like a child. I was like happy and sad at the same time, like the same emotions that like a 2-year-old would have. So sad that I'm happy, like, I don't know, it's weird. But this guy, I couldn't stand the fucker. And so I had every right to be like vindictive and like not listen to this guy, but I couldn't. At that point, I couldn't hate anything. I was a child. I was truly a child again. And I was like, I took some pills, haha. Fuck you guys. No, I didn't say fuck you guys. Yeah, took some pills, blah, blah, blah. You know, you ain't a bad guy. Yeah, he's like, well, I don't want to call an ambulance. It'll look bad for me. I'm a pastor. I'm running an Airbnb. There'll be an investigation if you die here. Come on, man. Just let me take you to the emergency room. I gave in. Didn't take much convincing because, you know, I was just a child. You could convince me of anything. But there was still my conscious self in there somewhere telling me, yeah, let him take you to the emergency room, but we're not gonna make it through this. We're not gonna make it through this, bro. We'll get there. We'll just say that we're there to use the bathroom or some shit. We're gonna leave. I could tell that the childlike state that I had reverted to was like becoming not so much a choice now as being like my higher functions were shutting off. Like this stuff was saying, you will resist, you will run for it when that car parks. But by the time I got there, like, I was shutting down. And the fucking pastor followed me into the emergency room. Okay, so I tried to tell her I had a stomachache. He said no, he tried to kill himself. Blah, blah, blah. He ratted me out, and I'm like not complying at all. Like, hey, blah, blah, blah. I feel fine, blah, blah, blah. Fucking, they were shoving IVs in me before I even got into the operating room. And that's the last thing I remember was being alive, is them pushing me in a wheelchair, shoving an IV in my arm, and then I was good. I was gone. I was dead. They were yelling something unintelligible at me. I know it was English. I could probably, if I really dwelt on it, I could probably tell you what they were saying. I really can't go back to there right now. I felt as though I was like grasping for anything. I needed to be something. I needed to find myself. I realized I had a self, and like, where was I? I was in the void, like black darkness all around me, but it's not even that. It was like just a lack of vision. I had no vision, no sensation, yet I had memory of the chain of events that had happened up to this point. I couldn't, there's no pictures at that point. Like, I had no comprehension of what vision could possibly be. I knew who I was symbolically. I was Roland. That was my name. Didn't know where I come from, who was my God, what the fuck was going on. I knew I was dead. I knew I was fucking dead. I'd fucking done it. And like, at that point, like this a little bit of myself came back to me in the void, and like, I almost could see again, but it was like with like looking at myself in the mirror. I could see myself in the void. I had killed myself. I had wondered my whole life if I had what it took to take my life, and I did. I succeeded. And I was so happy for this. I was so relieved. And then I realized that I couldn't be happy because I wasn't alive. How could I be happy? How could I be feeling any of this? And then how come I am not feeling pain? If I can feel pleasure, I should feel pain. And then it came. This timeless agony just tore through me, and it's like, felt like my flesh was being torn from my body, except I didn't have flesh. It was my fleshlessness was being torn from me and being replaced with flesh, and I was suddenly fucking snapped back to the emergency room as a fucking evil bitch was shoving a fucking catheter down my urethra. They said I'd been out for days. It was a couple of seconds, I swear, in my mind. The passing of time from losing consciousness in the wheelchair to catheter insurance. It was like literally that much time between those two dots. And those two dots, it was like so much sentience created itself from a flux state of nothingness. I was confused, so confused at reality at that point. I was like, there's no way any of this is real. There's no way that I'm alive. I know I did not fail. I succeeded. And then I'm like trying to remember who I was before this, why I had done this, and I could tell you why, but I couldn't tell you in ways that I could connect to, because I was not that person anymore. I was the guy that had succeeded. But I was not the one that had done it. I was the creation of that creature. Like, I created myself in those last moments when my life flashed before my eyes. From that, I pulled everything that I valued, every lesson I'd learned from that experience, and I put that together into the form of a child at that point. I conceived myself in my death and was born again in the emergency room. You need form to remember what it's like to be alive, but you need formlessness to conceive of yourself, to be born of yourself. And I was born of myself. I raised myself. I'm not saying I'm a god. I'm not saying I'm anything unique. I'm saying this is what happens to everybody. I believe this truth from the bottom of my heart, that everybody comes back. And in some dimension, they're not there anymore. People are mourning their loss. But in my flow of experiences, I'm still me. I'm just not that guy. I'm better for it. Like, I killed my worst part, put my worst self to death so I could be my best self. And I'm not my best self by any means. I could be better. There's always room for growth, but I'm better than I was because I killed myself. And I would encourage anyone who wants to be free to know this truth for yourself. No one ever dies. Not in the sense that we conceive it. Death is not the end. Death is what it is to be born again. That's the message of Jesus. He was born again. 3 days later, I was born again 3 days later. Praise Jesus. Praise the all omnipotent fucking chaos from which I have received my calling.